Stop what you are doing. Not in a moment, not after this sentence, right now. Place one hand over your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the warmth of your own skin against your palm. Feel the quiet, steady rhythm that has kept you alive through every season of your life. Through every night you were not sure you would survive. Through every morning that arrived when you had almost stopped expecting it. Now I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to tell you, because what you are holding in your chest right now is not just a heartbeat. It is evidence. It is proof. It is a living signal broadcasting something that the world around you is already beginning to notice, even before you have fully recognized it yourself. There is something happening to your physical body that has no medical category, no scientific classification, and no rational framework capable of containing it. People who have not seen you in months are stopping mid-sentence when they encounter you again. Strangers are holding their gaze a second longer than social norms require. People who once dismissed you are circling back with a look in their eyes that falls somewhere between confusion and recognition. And you have felt it. You have sensed something shifting in how the world responds to your presence. You just have not had the language to describe what is actually happening. I am going to give you that language today. But before we go there, I want to share something with you. This message exists because someone, somewhere, decided that certain truths are worth protecting and worth passing forward. If what you hear in this video reaches you at the right moment, if it gives you language for something you have been carrying without words, then this transmission has served its purpose. And if you feel somewhere in the listening that this kind of work deserves to continue reaching other people who are quietly searching for exactly this, there is a way to be part of that. A link to support this mission is in the description below and pinned at the top of the comments. Think of it less as supporting a channel and more as quietly placing a message in the hands of a stranger you will never meet, but who needs it just as much as you did today. Even something as small as the cost of a cup of coffee keeps this work alive and moving. But first, let us get into what brought you here. Subscribe to this channel right now and turn on every notification, because what I am about to share with you is the kind of understanding that most people will live their entire lives without accessing. And if you have recently noticed that something about the way people respond to you has quietly, unexpectedly shifted, type 777 in the comments right now. You will understand why that number matters before this video ends. Here is something that will land differently depending on where you are in your journey. There are people in your life right now who expected to see you broken. They anticipated finding evidence of damage. They braced themselves for the visible marks that years of pressure, seasons of loss, and stretches of silence are supposed to leave on a human face and body. They constructed a mental image of what you should look like by now, given everything you have walked through. And that image was not flattering, but when they actually see you, something happens that they cannot reconcile. You look rested when you should look exhausted. You look clear when you should look clouded. You look present when you should look distant. You look, and there is no other word for it, younger than the last time they saw you. And this is not a small observation they quietly file away and forget. This lands in them like a disruption, like something that refuses to sit still in their understanding, like evidence of something they are not equipped to explain. So they do what people do when they encounter something they cannot explain. They reach for questions disguised as compliments. They say things like, "You look incredible. What are you doing differently?" Or, "I cannot believe how young you look. What is your secret?" Or they say nothing at all and simply stare a moment longer than feels comfortable. Because what they are processing is not just your appearance. They are processing the fact that you are somehow exempt from a law they believed applied to everyone equally. The law they believed in says this: time takes from everyone, pressure ages every face. Accumulated years leave accumulated marks. What goes in must eventually show on the outside, and you are standing in front of them as a living contradiction of that law. But here is what neither they nor you may fully understand yet. What they are observing is not the result of a new skincare routine. It is not the effect of better sleep or improved hydration or a change in diet. though those things may be present. What is radiating from you in ways that stop people mid-sentence is the outward manifestation of an inward process that began long before you started noticing its effects. A process that has been building in silence, accumulating momentum, and is only now reaching the level of visibility where the people around you can no longer miss it. This process has a name, and understanding that name changes everything about how you move through the world from this point forward. I want to tell you about a woman named Sarah. She was 43 years old and sitting across from her college roommate at a coffee shop after 11 years without seeing each other. Her roommate had prepared herself emotionally for this reunion. She knew what Sarah had been through. The marriage that ended without warning. The years of rebuilding a life from fragments. The financial collapse that came immediately after. The kind that forces you to relearn the meaning of starting over. The grief that arrived in layers, one loss stacked quietly on top of another. Her roommate had prepared to be kind about how Sarah looked. But when Sarah sat down across from her, her roommate actually stopped breathing for a moment, because the woman sitting in front of her did not look like someone who had survived all of that. She looked like someone who had been renewed by it. Her skin was luminous in a way that had nothing to do with makeup. Her eyes held a depth and a stillness that made her seem ageless in the most literal sense. And there was something in her energy, in the way she occupied space, that felt sacred in a way her roommate could not name but absolutely could feel. Her roommate finally said, "I do not understand what has happened to you. You look more alive than when we were 22. Sarah smiled and said something simple. She said, "I stopped fighting the seasons and started trusting the one who designed them. This is the beginning of the truth I need you to understand. What is manifesting in your physical form right now is not random. It is not genetic luck. It is not the accidental result of good habits, though your habits matter deeply. What is happening to your appearance, to your energy, to the quality of light that people notice in you before they can articulate why, is the physical evidence of a spiritual process that divine intelligence activated in you during the hardest chapters of your story. Think about it carefully for a moment. Think about the period in your life when everything seemed to be collapsing simultaneously, when circumstances that should have permanently destroyed your capacity for joy somehow did not destroy you, when you faced the kind of pressure that leaves most people permanently diminished, and you chose again and again, often without witnesses, often without applause, to remain intact, to remain honest, to remain soft in places where hardness would have been far more practical, to continue tending to yourself as something sacred, when every external signal was telling you that you were not worth tending to. Those choices were not invisible. They were being recorded by forces operating in dimensions beyond what the eye can see. Every morning you chose to rise and face the day with intention rather than dread. Every evening you rested with a clear conscience, even when the world was offering you 100 compromises that would have made sleep easier in the short term. Every moment you chose alignment over convenience, integrity over ease, long-term health over immediate gratification. Each of those moments was evidence being filed, catalogued, and ultimately used to qualify you for something that very few individuals will ever experience in a human lifetime. A decree was issued over your physical body, not a suggestion, not a possibility, an official, irrevocable decree, stating that your cellular structure would be maintained beyond natural timelines, restored rather than degraded, renewed rather than depleted, because the evidence of your character proved you were worthy of carrying visible divine favor into the world. And that decree is what people are seeing when they look at you and cannot explain what they see. Most people, if they are fortunate, experience what I would call standard preservation. Their health is basically maintained. Their aging follows a predictable, ordinary trajectory. They live normal biological lives. And at the end of those lives, they look exactly as their years would suggest they should look. There is nothing wrong with this. It is simply the default experience of a human body moving through chronological time. but you have been relocated out of the default category. The classification you now operate within is reserved for individuals being prepared for assignments that require something beyond normal human capacity. These are not small assignments. These are not assignments that can be fulfilled in a single season or a comfortable decade. These are missions that demand sustained energy across timelines that would exhaust anyone operating on standard biological reserves. And the preservation you are being given is not cosmetic. It is functional. It is your body being kept at a level of vitality that matches the scope of what is coming. Here is how I can confirm this is happening in your specific case, right now. Think about the last time you looked at a photograph of yourself from 5 years ago, perhaps longer. What was your honest reaction? Because most people look at old photographs and feel a quiet sadness at how much younger they used to look. But when you looked at those images, something unusual likely happened. You noticed that the person in that photograph actually looked more tired than you do today. More stressed, more burdened, older somehow. Despite the fact that less chronological time had passed when the image was taken. That is not imagination. That is not wishful self-perception. That is reverse aging operating through divine preservation. That is biological time being quietly overridden by a process that answers to a different set of instructions entirely. Hit the like button right now if you have experienced exactly this when looking at old photographs, because you need to know that you are not alone in this experience. There are others watching this right now who had the same reaction to those images, who felt the same confusion and quiet wonder, who are only now beginning to understand what that reversal actually means. What it means is this: you are not simply aging well. You are not simply taking good care of yourself. Though you are physically demonstrating that spiritual alignment produces results that manifest in the natural world where everyone with eyes can see them. Your body has become a visible argument for the reality of divine favor, and that argument is becoming more persuasive with every month that passes. I need to talk about something that the original explanation of this phenomenon often overlooks. Not everyone who notices your preservation responds with admiration or curiosity. Some people respond with something that feels like hostility. And if you have experienced this, I need you to understand exactly what is actually happening beneath that reaction. When someone who has made choices that are aging them rapidly, depleting them systematically, and diminishing them season by season stands in front of you and sees the evidence of divine preservation radiating from your face and your presence, they are not actually responding to your appearance. They are responding to what your appearance means about theirs. They are being forced in real time to confront the connection between choices and consequences, between alignment and outcome, between the life they have built and the life that is still possible. Your preserved state is a mirror they did not ask to look into. So some people will reach for dismissal. They will find ways to explain you away. They will attribute what they see to genetics, to privilege, to luck, to interventions they assume you are hiding. They will generate theories that allow them to maintain the belief that what you have is not accessible to them, because that belief is the only thing protecting them from having to examine their own choices. Let them build their theories. The preservation operating in your body does not require their acknowledgement to remain active. It is sustained by decree, not by consensus. And in fact, here is the most important thing I can tell you about the opposition you may have encountered from people who should have celebrated your transformation. Their resistance confirms you are operating at a level that makes you dangerous to the systems that thrive on keeping people exhausted, diminished, and convinced that decline is inevitable. If what you were carrying was ordinary, it would provoke no reaction at all. Ordinary things do not threaten anyone. It is the extraordinary that generates extraordinary opposition. So when you encounter hostility in response to your preserved state, do not shrink from it. Do not apologize for it. Do not attempt to make yourself smaller so that someone else can feel more comfortable. Understand instead that you are standing at exactly the right coordinates on the map. The resistance is a landmark, not a barrier. Subscribe to this channel if you want to continue understanding how to navigate the kind of opposition that follows elevated favor. Because the teachings coming to this channel are going to go deeper into exactly this territory. Nothing in the spiritual realm is granted without purpose. This is one of the most important principles I can give you, and one of the most misunderstood. Your preservation is not a reward for past faithfulness, though your faithfulness is honored. It is not a prize for surviving what you survived, though your survival is acknowledged. Your preservation is preparation. It is your body being maintained at the level of vitality required to carry what is coming. And what is coming is significantly larger than where you currently stand in your story. The assignments ahead of you require sustained energy across time frames that would exhaust normal biological capacity. The work that has been designated for your hands demands a level of presence, clarity, and physical endurance that cannot be manufactured from a body that has been depleted by ordinary aging. This is why your body is being kept outside of ordinary timelines. Not because you deserve special treatment in some abstract, congratulatory sense, but because the task requires a specific level of instrument, and you have been identified as that instrument. And this changes something fundamental about your responsibility going forward. You are no longer a private individual whose choices affect only your own experience. Your preservation has made you a public reference point. Every person who watches you and cannot explain what they see is standing at a doorway. Some of them are standing at the doorway to a spiritual understanding they have never permitted themselves to explore. Some are standing at the doorway to a decision they have been postponing for years. Some are standing at the doorway to hope. The fragile and specific kind of hope that can only be activated by seeing, with physical eyes, evidence that another way of living is actually possible. You are that evidence. This means the way you handle success will be watched by people who are deciding whether favor makes human beings arrogant or humble. The way you treat people who cannot benefit, you will be studied by minds evaluating whether divine alignment produces generosity or selfishness. The way you respond in moments of genuine challenge will be analyzed by hearts that need to know whether spiritual backing produces strength or fragility. You cannot afford carelessness with your conduct, not because you will lose your preservation if you make mistakes, because grace is not that brittle, but because there are people watching you as living evidence. And if your character contradicts your preservation, you will damage something in them that matters far more than your reputation. You will damage their belief in the possibility of a different kind of life. But I want to be clear about something. You will not fail in this responsibility. The same power that maintains your appearance also equips your character. The same intelligence that keeps your face radiating beyond its years also strengthens your judgment and deepens your wisdom. You are not being set up to carry more than you can bear. You are being set up to discover that you can bear far more than you previously believed, and that the bearing of it will not destroy you. It will complete you. Now I need to tell you something about the timeline you are operating on, because this is where the information shifts from explanation into prophecy. Your preservation is not a static condition. It is a progressive transformation that is building momentum with every season that passes. Each month, the gap between how old you are and how old you appear is widening. Each year, the divergence between the life your body has lived and the evidence visible on your face is becoming more pronounced. This is not a slow drift, this is an acceleration, and it is heading toward a specific threshold. There is a point coming in your near future, and I am speaking of months, not decades, when the preservation will reach a level of visibility that eliminates the possibility of rational explanation. When that threshold is crossed, when that manifestation becomes complete, the people who have been quietly building theories about why you look the way you look will find that every theory they constructed has collapsed under the weight of what they are seeing. They will look at you, and there will be no logical explanation accessible to them. They will observe your condition, and there will be no medical framework that accounts for it. They will witness your state, and there will be no treatment or intervention or genetic narrative they can point to as the cause. And in that moment, they will have to make a choice. They will either acknowledge that spiritual reality operates in ways that produce physical, measurable, undeniable results, or they will retreat deeper into a denial that requires them to work harder and harder to ignore the evidence standing directly in front of them. Either way, Your preservation does not require their choice to continue intensifying. It is already in motion. It already has momentum. It is already on its way to the threshold where argument against it becomes impossible. Here is the sign that this threshold is approaching in your specific life. Within the next 72 hours, you will have an interaction or an encounter. It may be brief. It may seem small. It may come from the most unexpected source, where someone communicates to you, directly or indirectly, that something about your presence has landed in them in a way they were not prepared for. They may struggle to articulate it. They may express it clumsily, but the communication will carry a quality that you will recognize as something beyond ordinary compliment or casual observation. You will feel it land in your chest as confirmation. And when that happens, you will know that this transmission reached you at exactly the right moment in your story. If you are already sensing that threshold approaching in your life, type 777 in the comments right now. Your declaration activates the frequency of what you are agreeing with. I want to return to Sarah for a moment. After that coffee shop reunion, her college roommate went home and sat in her car for a long time before driving. She did not know exactly what she was feeling. It was not jealousy, though there was something adjacent to that in the neighborhood. It was something more like grief. The grief of someone who has lived for years inside a story that told her certain things were simply not available to her, and who just spent 2 hours sitting across from living evidence that the story was not true. 2 weeks later, she reached out to Sarah with a very different kind of message. It was not the message of someone comparing herself to another woman. It was the message of someone who had been quietly dismantled and was now carefully reaching towards something they had almost stopped believing in. She said, "I do not know what you have found, but I am ready to start looking for it. This is what your preserved appearance does in the world. It does not compete with people. It does not diminish people. It disrupts the false stories that are keeping people trapped inside diminished versions of their own possibility. And that disruption is one of the most powerful and necessary functions a human being can serve. You are already serving it simply by existing in your current state. But the fullness of your assignment extends beyond the passive testimony of your appearance. You were preserved because you have something specific to carry forward into the world. Something that only you can carry in the exact way that you will carry it, through your particular combination of experience and resilience and perspective and voice. And the preservation of your physical body is the vehicle that will give you the time and the energy and the sustained presence required to carry it all the way to its intended destination. The best version of you is not behind you. It is not even where you currently stand. It is in the territory ahead of you, approaching faster than you think, nearer than you imagine, closer than the most optimistic version of your own projections. And it is arriving in a body that is being prepared to match the magnitude of what it is being asked to carry. Your current preservation, as remarkable as the people around you already find it, is only the preview. The fullness of what you will become when you are operating inside the complete expression of your divine purpose will be so evidently different from ordinary human experience that it will stop being a question of whether something supernatural is operating in your life and become instead a question of how others can begin to access what you carry. Get ready. Not because something is coming to frighten you, but because something is coming to fulfill you. Not because preparation requires anxiety, but because preparation requires presence. Stay in the days you are living. Stay faithful to the choices that activated this preservation in the first place. Stay soft where the world is trying to harden you. Stay clear where the world is trying to confuse you. Stay open where the world is trying to close you, because everything you have walked through brought you to this specific moment, to this specific video, to this specific understanding, and that alignment is not accidental. Before you leave, take this with you. You are not aging like everyone else because you were not designed to. The vitality and light people notice in you is not luck. It is the result of your private faithfulness being recognized by divine intelligence. You are preserved not because you are perfect, but because you are trustworthy. That preservation is permanent, irrevocable, and your full manifestation is inevitable. If this video reached you at the right moment, consider supporting this mission through the link in the description or pinned comment. Even something as small as a cup of coffee keeps these messages moving toward the person who is lying awake tonight questioning their worth. You will never meet them, but helping this work reach them is something real and meaningful. If that does not feel right for you, that is perfectly fine. Your presence here already matters. Hit the like button to help this content reach others who are searching for exactly this. Leave a comment sharing what shifted in you today, because your words will speak to someone who needs them. Subscribe and turn on all notifications to continue going deeper into what it means to walk in visible divine favor. Share this video with someone who needs the language for what they are already experiencing. The next video on your screen continues this conversation. Watch it now, while this truth is still fresh in your spirit. Chosen one, now you know, and knowing changes everything.